The last time I talked about Star vs. the Forces of Evil was during Summerpalooza 3, which was last year, and yeah, it was difficult for me to grow attached to this show while trying to keep up with it compared to other cartoons. I'm not saying that this show bored me to death, but at the same time, I couldn't get into it compared to the other cartoons, and I was really stressed out into watching so many shows in such a short amount of time. So since that there are 2 Christmas episodes in this show that we're going to be looking at, one for now is Stump Day, which made me impressed, but at the same time it was difficult to get back into watching this show afterwards. But I have to admit, this episode alone is a perfect example that you shouldn't celebrate anyone else's birthday or anything during Stump Day. We get a history involving the stump itself that if anyone argues, it will lead to a huge disaster that leads up towards the end of this episode. And to be perfectly honest with you, the fact that these people have a reason to celebrate Stump Day has a perfect indication that for anyone who isn't familiar in the world that they're in, mainly Marco, despite heading into Star's world several times, there was so much that he hasn't even learned yet. And believe me when I say this, the whole Stump Day holiday in this is really a good idea, knowing full well that if this show isn't going to have a Christmas episode, even though it's gonna be Christmas themed, it really needs to do a good job into making one episode somewhat unique to center around the scenario that Star and her friends are getting into. So what does Marco do? He throws a birthday party to celebrate Star's 15th birthday, which he also calls a quinceañera, which only paranoids Star to the point that even on her birthday, she only celebrates Stump Day and nothing more. Okay, just to point this out, this joke instantly made me laugh the first time because while the Mexican players were playing their instruments to celebrate Star's birthday party, Star immediately grabbed the guitar and the song just stopped. Like, completely. And the animation just made it much more humorous because of how fast-paced it is. And I understand that this type of animation won't work into other shows depending on the characters and pacing, but the pacing in this show is honestly the best part because of how humorous it is. Anyway, to give the other characters credit regards of their lack of knowledge, they're just trying to cheer up Star to the point that it's really difficult to believe that she never had a birthday celebration due to the stump getting in the way, but it's mainly the fact that Marco is just trying to do the right thing by celebrating Star's birthday. Like, if you're ever in Marco's shoes, you would do the same thing. And even though what I said earlier that Marco needs to be fully aware of what Star is going through, that her life isn't the same as his, it still doesn't change the fact that he's just trying to be a good friend. Even if you can make the argument that Marco started this entire mess when the stump came to life, it really feels like that the other characters are just going against each other because they're not being on Star's shoes of how she feels, in the fact that Star has witnessed all this over the last 15 years proves to me that their ages aren't the same as Star's. Granted, when it comes to the other characters that aren't human is mostly debatable, but considering that the world building in the show has a lot of characters into different worlds, it really feels like Star is one of the only characters who is fully familiar with the life that she is in, while the other characters, not even close. Yes, I'm fully aware I didn't remember all the details since I didn't watch this show in such a long time, but to be honest with you, this episode alone is a perfect example that Star's life is way more different compared to the other characters. Like, I've seen her moments in season 1, and when it comes to season 2, it's basically an understanding of how the world works which centers around Marco's life, and if the roles had been reversed, if Marco spent his life into Star's world, then this show would have been an entirely different show. Anyway, the characters begin to go against each other, which leads to Star trying her hardest to do everything of what she does during Stump Day. And to be real with you, the fact that we get to see one of the characters burning the stump with fire is further proof that they're the representations of just trash-talking holidays. I mean, granted, they weren't trash-talking Stump Day completely, but at the same time, they're mostly on the careless part, well, they just don't even think about the negative impact of what's going to happen soon. So as you can tell, the stump is causing havoc. Believe me when I say this, the fact that the stump is just gonna destroy all the characters, and one of the reasons why it didn't kill the characters isn't because of what Star and the other characters did when it comes to loving each other, involving family and friendship. It's the fact that it's midnight and Stump Day is officially over. So apparently it was sheer luck that they managed to stay alive instead of getting killed by the stump. Let me tell you, this is basically the punishment that they deserve for thinking that stumps don't have feelings or they don't do any negativity against others. So all I can say is that the Christmas themes in this, aside from Christmas decorations in the snow, is that the stump is a representation of Santa putting his boots down. I'm being really serious when I say that. I don't think I ever see the day where there's an episode centering around a stump is a representation of Santa, who can instantly make things a lot more complicated if a birthday of someone takes over the Christmas Eve or Christmas Day or whatever. Because let me tell you, I think that Stump Day is basically Christmas, but at the same time, it's gonna be a lot more devastating to think that if a birthday is going to overcome a Christmas celebration in any other family in this entire planet. But I'm overthinking about it, am I? Anyway, I really enjoyed this episode. To the point that since it's Christmas theme, it really does a good job into making it its own episode instead of being an actual Christmas episode. And to be honest, whenever I give praise towards an episode or others that are Christmas theme and they're doing a good job by not being completely Christmas episodes, makes me appreciate the world building in this show a lot more. And while yes, I'm not fully back into watching the series anytime soon, but at the same time, it doesn't mean that it doesn't have good episodes for me to enjoy. I'm giving this episode a 7.5 out of 10.